Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
or EI for short.
Right.
It's that almost magical ability some folks have to
Yeah.
effortlessly handle tricky situations.
Yeah.
Ever wonder why some people just seem to get it when
Right.
it comes to handling tough conversations or understanding what others are feeling?
Mhm.
Well, that's EI in action.
It is.
And we're going to break it all down
Okay.
using the latest Wikipedia article on emotional intelligence,
Sounds good.
which is fresh from January 29th,
Okay.
2025.
We're fresh, very fresh.
So it's very recently updated.
Yep.
What's interesting to me is that emotional intelligence is more than just being nice.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It's a skill.
It's a skill.
And like any skill, you can get better at it.
Okay, I'm all ears.
All right.
Let's dive in.
Yeah.
So where did this whole idea of emotional intelligence come from?
The term itself first appeared back in 1964,
Oh, wow.
but it took a while to catch on.
I see.
Psychologists like Abraham Maslow, they were already talking about the importance of emotional health,
Mm-hmm.
but it was really in the 1990s that EI hit the mainstream.
So that's when Daniel Goleman's book,
Yes.
Emotional Intelligence, became a bestseller.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It captured the public imagination.
Mm-hmm.
But what's even more telling is that Goldman's work caught the attention of big companies
Mm-hmm.
like Johnson & Johnson.
Oh, wow.
And they were so intrigued by the idea
Yeah.
that they funded research on EI and its connection to leadership performance.
Really?
And you know what they found?
What?
Leaders with high EI consistently outperformed their counterparts,
Wow.
sometimes by as much as 20%.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah,
That's a pretty compelling reason to pay attention to EI.
I think so.
So we know it's important, but
Okay.
how do we actually understand and measure it?
Right.
I've heard people talk about different models of EI. Can you break those down for us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
There are three main ways to look at emotional intelligence.
Okay.
The first is the ability model.
Okay.
This model focuses on your ability to process emotional information,
Mm-hmm.
almost like a cognitive skill.
So it's how well you perceive, use, understand,
Yeah.
and manage emotion.
Manage emotions, exactly.
So someone who's really good at recognizing emotions in themselves and others
Yeah,
would score high on the ability model.
exactly.
Okay.
They can accurately read
Hmm.
facial expressions, body language, tone of voice,
Mm-hmm.
to pick up on how others are feeling,
Mm-hmm.
even if those emotions aren't explicitly stated.
That's
It's like they have a built-in emotional radar.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the other two models?
The second one is the mixed model,
Okay.
which was popularized by Daniel Goleman.
Mm-hmm.
This one combines those cognitive abilities
Mm.
with personality traits.
So your overall EI is a combination of your skills in processing emotional information
Yes.
and your natural tendencies
Yeah.
when it comes to things like self-awareness and empathy.
Exactly.
So it's like a blend of nature and nurture.
Yes, a blend of nature and nurture.
Okay, and finally there's the trait model, right?
All right.
This model focuses on how you see yourself.
Okay.
It's about your self-perceived emotional abilities,
I see.
your strengths and weaknesses in the emotional realm.
So it's less about what you can actually do
Mm-hmm.
and more about how you perceive your own
Exactly.
emotional intelligence.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about your own awareness of how well you navigate the emotional landscape.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting for me.
Okay.
How do we actually measure these different aspects of EI?
Right.
Are there tests for this, like IQ tests?
There are.
Really?
Yeah, let's start with the ability model.
Okay.
Since we were just talking about it.
One of the most well-known tests for this model is called the MSCIT,
MSCE.
which stands for
Okay.
the Mayer-Silvey-Caruso Emotional Intelligence Test.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is.
And you're right, it is structured a lot like an IQ test.
Yes, it is.
So you might be given different scenarios or images
Uh-huh.
and asked to identify the emotions being displayed.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's really testing your ability to accurately perceive and understand emotions
Okay.
in different contexts.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
What about the other models?
Well, for the mixed model and the trait model,
Hmm.
we often use self-report measures.
Okay.
These are questionnaires
Right.
where you answer questions about your typical emotional responses and behaviors behaviors.
So instead of trying to objectively measure your abilities, these questionnaires rely on your own
Self-perception.
self-perception,
Yeah.
which has its own pros and cons, of course.
Of course.
It can be really valuable for raising self-awareness. But it's important to remember that people's self-perceptions aren't always completely accurate.
That's very true.
We might overestimate our abilities or downplay certain weaknesses.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we have different models of EI,
Yes.
different ways of measuring it.
We do.
But why should we care?
Yeah.
What difference does it really make in our lives?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's what we'll dive into next.
Okay.
It turns out that emotional intelligence has a profound impact on how we navigate the world, from our relationships to our careers and even our overall well-being.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm hooked.
Okay, good.
Let's unpack those connections next. So we've been talking about the different ways to understand and measure emotional intelligence.
Right.
But now I'm really curious to explore how EI actually plays out in our lives.
Okay.
Does having a high EQ really make a difference?
It absolutely does.
Really?
Research has uncovered some fascinating correlations between emotional intelligence and a whole range of outcomes, from workplace success to personal well-being.
Okay, let's start with the workplace.
Okay.
I can imagine that being able to understand and manage emotions would be incredibly valuable in a professional setting.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Every workplace is like a melting pot
Yeah.
of personalities, ambitions, stresses.
Wow.
Being able to navigate those complexities with emotional intelligence can be a game changer.
So someone with high EI might be better at handling difficult conversations.
Yes.
Resolving conflicts. Building strong relationships with colleagues.
Precisely.
Okay.
They're often the ones who can stay calm under pressure, see things from multiple perspectives, and find those win-win solutions.